That would make one sad. There we go. Okay, no, I just hit. But speaking of YouTube, Helga, there, I just hit my go live button on that. I forgot about that. Thank you for the reminder. I'm supposed to be restreaming up there as well. Just to archive these shows a little better. Yeah. Alrighty. So let us get on with it. Best money you've ever spent. Man, I don't know. Easily amused you are, future pilot. But at any rate, let's just take a little look at our book. Yeah. Well, happy birthday, Helga. Someone else had a birthday yesterday too. Who was that? They were a bad Wi-Fi. A bad Wi-Fi had his birthday yesterday. Yeah. There's everyone's having their birthdays right now. Luckily for me, I don't do the birthdays. Staying forever young. Forever young. Somehow. I think it works like that. Eschew the birthdays. And age doesn't count anymore. Okay, but we should... Where's it go? There it is. There it is. Okay. There it is. Let's take a little peek. Oh, did I... Is it not on there? Oh, it's not... oh, those action things are not there. That needs to be moved up. Yeah, let me move that up real fast. Why is it stuck there? That is Pixel Chat Social Pop-Up. And why is it on? Is that, oh, where's my pixel? Okay, did I have my alerts on? Toggle preview on. Is my stream frozen? Is everything broken today? It's just sitting there. It's not Why is it not going away? That is rotating social pop-up. Toggle preview. Okay, I guess it was stuck. All right. Oof. Okay. That was yeah. All of these little app things were a little squirrely today, so I don't know if that's anything to do with Mix's API or what have you. I don't know. I do not know. Strange things are afoot. That's all I know. Let me just get my pop-out chat from YouTube real fast, just in case someone says hi. I do not know if they will or not. Move that over there. Juggle a few things. There we go. There we go. Put that over there so I can see it easier. Yeah, and I can't get I can't get the restream chat to work either. To have the chat from YouTube pop up over in this thing here. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Nothing's working correctly. It's fine. It is fine. Okay, but let's do it. Let's get on with our book. So we've just had Christine and Raoul have they just agreed to run away after that night's performance, which they have to put on because otherwise Eric, the Phantom of the Opera, will be sure to kill them both. So that she's going to put on one last performance, and then they're going to elope and run away. And the Phantom overheard this. And halfway through the show, there's a big Christine Daae vanishes on stage, and she's been she's been kidnapped. That's I guess that's the fair assumption there. It's okay, all right. Sounds good. Sounds logical. I think we can go through that. Man, my FTL is terrible right now. Let's just refresh this page and then we're going to get on with it. Yeah, we will. I wonder if I can make this page always on top. No, nothing. I can't do that. Okay, let's do it. Chapter 14. The singular attitude of a safety pin. Behind the curtain there was an indescribable crowd. Artists, scene shifters, dancers, supers, choristers, subscribers, were all asking questions, shouting and hustling one another. What became of her? She's run away. With the Vicomte de Chagny, of course. No, with the Count. Ah, here's Carlotta. Carlotta did the trick. No, it was the ghost. And a few laughed, especially as a careful examination of the trapdoors and boards had put the idea of an accident out of the question. Oh, one sec. Keyboard. And a few laughed, especially as a careful examination of the trapdoors and boards had put the idea of an accident out of the question. Amid this noisy throng, 3 men stood, talking in a low voice with despairing gestures. They were Gabriel, the chorus master, Mercier, the acting manager, and Remy, the secretary. They retired to a corner of the lobby by which the stage communicates with the wide passage leading to the foyer of the ballet. Here they stood and argued behind some enormous properties. "I knocked at the door," said Remy. "They did not answer. Perhaps they are not in the office. In any event, it's impossible to find out, for they took the keys with them." They were obviously the managers, who had then given orders during the last entr'acte that they were not to be disturbed on any pretext whatever. They were not in to anybody. "All the same," exclaimed Gabrielle, "a singer isn't run away with from the middle of the stage every day." "Did you shout that to them?" asked Mercier impatiently. "I'll go back again," said Remy, and disappeared at a run. Thereupon the stage manager arrived. "Well, Monsieur Mercier, are you coming? What are you two doing here? You're wanted, Mr. Acting Manager." "I refuse to know or do anything before the commissary arrives," declared Mercier. "I have sent for Mifroid. We shall see when he comes." "And I tell you that you ought to go down to the organ at once." "Not before the commissary comes." "I've been down to the organ myself already." "Ah, what did you see?" "Well, I saw nobody. Do you hear? Nobody." "What do you want me to go down there for?" "You're right," said the stage manager, frantically pushing his hands through his rebellious hair. "You're right. But there might be someone at the organ who could tell us how the stage came to be suddenly darkened. Now Mauclair is nowhere to be found. Do you understand that?" Mauclair was the gas man, who dispensed day and night at will on the stage of the opera. "Mauclair is not to be found," repeated Mercier, taken aback. "Well, what about his assistants?" "There is no Mauclair and no assistants, no one at the lights, I tell you. You can imagine," roared the stage manager, "that the little girl must have been carried off by somebody else. She didn't run away by herself. It was a calculated stroke, and we have to find out about it. And what are the managers doing all this time? I gave orders that no one was to go down to the lights, and I posted a fireman in front of the gas man's box beside the organ. Wasn't that right?" Yes, quite right. And now let us wait for the commissary." The stage manager walked away, shrugging his shoulders. It's something terrible, cat. What's going on? The stage manager walked away, shrugging his shoulders, fuming, muttering insults at those milksops who remained quietly squatting in a corner while the whole theatre was topsy-turvy. Gabrielle and Mercier were not so quiet as all that. Only they had received an order that paralyzed them. The managers were not to be disturbed on any account. Remy had violated that order and met with no success. Hey, Lanois, what's going on? At that moment he returned from his new expedition, wearing a curiously startled air. Well, have you seen them? Asked Mercier. Moncharmin opened the door at last. His eyes were starting out of his head. I thought he meant to strike me. I could not get a word in. And what do you think he shouted at me? Have you a safety pin? No? Well, then clear out. I tried to tell him that an unheard-of thing had happened on the stage, but he roared, a safety pin! Give me a safety pin, at once! A boy heard him. He was bellowing like a bull, ran up with a safety pin and gave it to him, whereupon Monsieur Moncharmin slammed the door in my face, and there you are. And couldn't you have said Christine Daae? I should like to have seen you in my place. He was foaming at the mouth. He thought of nothing but his safety pin. I believe if they hadn't brought him one on the spot, he would have fallen down in a fit. Oh, all this isn't natural, and our managers are going mad. Besides, it can't go on like this. I'm not used to being treated in that fashion. Suddenly, Gabrielle whispered, It's another trick of OG's. Remy gave a grin, Mercier a sigh, and seemed about to speak, but, meeting Gabrielle's eye, said nothing. However, Mercier felt his responsibility increased as the minutes passed, without the manager's appearing, and at last he could stand it no longer. Look here, I'll go and hunt them out myself. Gabrielle, turning very gloomy and serious, stopped him. Be careful what you're doing, Mercier. If they're staying in their office, it's probably because they have to. OG has more than one trick in his bag. But Mercier shook his head. That's their lookout. I'm going. If people had listened to me, the police would have known everything long ago. And he went. What's everything? Asked Remy. What was there to tell the police? Why don't you answer, Gabrielle? So you know something. Well, you would do better to tell me, too, if you don't want me to shout out that you are all going mad. Yes, that's what you are. Mad. Hey, Chris Alberti. Thank you for that retweet. I saw that just a minute ago. Thank you. Gabrielle put on a stupid look and pretended not to understand the private secretary's unseemly outburst. What am I supposed to know? He said. I don't know what you mean. Remy began to lose his temper. This evening, Richard and Moncharmin were behaving like lunatics here between the acts. I never noticed it, growled Gabrielle, very much annoyed. Then you're the only one. Do you think that I didn't see them, and that Monsieur Parabis, the manager of the Credit Central, noticed nothing, and that Monsieur de la Borderie, the ambassador, has no eyes to see with? Why, all the subscribers were pointing at our managers. But what were our managers doing? Asked Gabrielle, putting on his most innocent air. What were they doing? You know better than anyone what they were doing. You were there, and you were watching them, you and Mercier, and you were the only two who didn't laugh. I don't understand. Gabrielle raised his arms and dropped them to his sides again, which gesture was meant to convey that the question did not interest him in the least. Chris Alberti, that hashtag doesn't work anymore. Yep. Lana War, hey, good morning, Lana War. Yeah, Chris Alberti, I had to turn off that hashtag. Gabrielle raised his arms and dropped them to his sides again, which gesture was meant to convey that the question did not interest him in the least. Remy continued. What is the sense of this new mania of theirs? Why won't they have anyone come near them now? What? Won't they have anyone come near them? And they won't let anyone touch them. Really? Have you noticed that they won't let anyone touch them? That is certainly odd. Oh, so you admit it, and high time, too. And then they walk backward. Backward? You've seen our managers walk backward? I thought only crabs walked backward. Don't laugh, Gabrielle, don't laugh. I'm not laughing, protested Gabrielle, looking as solemn as a judge. Perhaps you can tell me this, Gabrielle, as you're an intimate friend of the management. When I went up to Monsieur Richard outside the foyer during the garden interval, with my hand out before me, why did mon charmant hurriedly whisper to me, go away, whatever you do, don't touch Monsieur le Directeur? Am I supposed to have an infectious disease? It's incredible. This is the weirdest conversation ever. And a little later, when Monsieur de la Borderie went up to Monsieur Richard, didn't you see Monsieur Moncharmin fling himself between them and hear him exclaim, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur, I entreat you not to touch Monsieur le Directeur. He has the coronavirus. It's terrible. And what was Richard doing meanwhile? What was he doing? Why, you saw him. He turned about, bowed in front of them, though there was nobody in front of him, and withdrew backward. Backward. And Moncharmin behind Richard also turned about. That is, he described a semicircle behind Richard and also walked backward. And they went like that to the staircase leading to the manager's office. Backward, backward, backward. Well, if they are not mad, will you explain what it means? Perhaps they were practicing a figure in the ballet, suggested Gabrielle, without much conviction in his voice. The secretary was furious at this wretched joke, and made it so dramatic a moment. He knit his brows and contracted his lips. Then he put his mouth to Gabrielle's ear. Don't be so sly, Gabrielle. There are things going on for which you and Mercier are partly responsible. What do you mean? Asked Gabrielle. Christine Daae is not the only one who suddenly disappeared tonight. Oh, nonsense. There's no nonsense about it. Perhaps you can tell me why, when Mother Giry came down to the foyer just now, Mercier took her by the hand and hurried her away with him. Really? Said Gabrielle. I never saw it. You did see it, Gabrielle, for you went with Mercier and Mother Giry to Mercier's office. Since then, you and Mercier have been seen, but no one has seen Mother Giry. Do you think we've eaten her? No, but you've locked her up in the office, and anyone passing the office can hear her yelling, "Oh, the scoundrels, the scoundrels!" At this point of this singular conversation, Mercier arrived, all out of breath. There, he said in a gloomy voice. It's worse than ever. I shouted, it's a serious matter. Open the door. It is I, Mercier. I heard the footsteps. The door opened and Moncharmin appeared. He was very pale. He said, what do you want? I answered, someone has run away with Christine Daae. What do you think he said? And a good job, too. And he shut the door after putting this in my hand. Mercier opened his hand. Remy and Gabrielle looked. The safety pin, cried Remy. Strange, strange, muttered Gabrielle, who could not help shivering. Suddenly, a voice made all three turn around. I beg your pardon, gentlemen. Could you tell me where Christine Daae is? In spite of the seriousness of the circumstances, the absurdity of the question would have made them roar with laughter if they had not caught sight of a face so sorrow-stricken that they were at once seized with pity. It was the Vicomte Raoul de Chagny. Man, that was a real weird change of tone for the book. It just went into weird. It's not exactly slapstick, but yeah, it just got really weird, almost farcical. All right, okay. I'm okay with that. Okay, everyone with the story so far? I hope so. It's day 6. And we're only, we only hit, halfway point last night. Gonna see what we're gonna get to. Yeah, so right now it looks like, we're going to be on track for, what's that, next Tuesday. Next Tuesday will probably be the day that we're gonna be finishing this if we keep making the same, progress. What a bizarre book. Alright. Let's see where we at. One sec. Making sure I haven't missed anything in chat there. Oh, we got Jack Card. I forgot what that matches up to here. Was that Lana War? I don't know. Oh, look at all them smiley little kitty cats. Where you get all from? Those are Shroud's things. Nice. All right. Didn't know Shroud had those little cute little kitty cats. Which reminds me, I need to get back. I need to go start chasing down the my artists, the ones who I hope are going to be interested in doing my graphics. I thought it would be fairly fast, but no cigar. All right. Some good things take time. Good things take time, though. That's all I can say. All right. Let's get on with it. In Chapter 15. Christine. Raoul's first thought, after Christine Daae's fantastic disappearance, was to accuse Eric. Eric, we learned yesterday, is the name of the opera ghost. He no longer doubted the almost supernatural powers of the Angel of Music in this domain of the opera in which he had set up his empire, and Raoul rushed on the stage in a mad fit of love and despair. "Oh, Christine," he moaned, calling to her as he felt that she must be calling to him from the depths of that dark pit to which the monster had carried her. "Christine! And he seemed to hear the girl's screams through the frail boards that separated him from her. He bent forward, he listened, he wandered over the stage like a madman. Ah, to descend into that pit of darkness, every entrance to which was closed to him. For the stairs that led below the stage were forbidden to one and all that night. Christine! People pushed him aside, laughing. They made fun of him. They thought the poor lover's brain was gone. By what mad road, through what passages of mystery and darkness known to him alone, had Eric dragged that pure-souled child to the awful haunt, with the Louis Philippe room opening out on the lake? Christine, why don't you answer? Are you alive?" Hideous thoughts flashed through Raoul's congested brain. Of course, Eric must have discovered their secret, must have known that Christine had played him false. What a vengeance would be his! And Raoul thought again of the yellow stars that had come the night before and roamed over his balcony. Why had he not put them out for good? There were some men's eyes that dilated in the darkness and shone like stars or like cat's eyes. Certainly albinos, who seemed to have rabbit's eyes by day, had cat's eyes at night. Everybody knew that. Yes, he had undoubtedly fired at Eric. Why had he not killed him? The monster had fled up the gutter spout like a cat or a convict who, everybody knew that also, would scale the very skies with the help of a gutter spout. No doubt Eric was at that time contemplating some decisive step against Raoul, but he had been wounded and had escaped to turn against poor Christine instead. Such were the cruel thoughts that haunted Raoul as he ran to the singer's dressing room. Christine! Bitter tears scorched the boy's eyelids as he saw scattered over the furniture the clothes which his beautiful bride was to have worn at the hour of their flight. Oh, why had she refused to leave earlier? Why had she toyed with the threatening catastrophe? Why toyed with the monster's heart? Why, in a final access of pity, had she insisted on flinging, as a last sop to that demon's soul, her divine song? Holy angel, in heaven blessed, my spirit longs with thee to rest. Raoul, his throat filled with sobs, oaths, and insults, fumbled awkwardly at the great mirror that had opened one night before his eyes to let Christine pass to the murky dwelling below. He pushed, pressed, groped about, but the glass apparently obeyed no one but Eric. Perhaps actions were not enough with a glass of the kind. Perhaps he was expected to utter certain words. When he was a little boy, he had heard that there were things that obeyed the spoken word. Suddenly, Raoul remembered something about a gate opening into the Rue Scribe, an underground passage running straight to the Rue Scribe from the lake. Yes, Christine had told him about that. And when he found the key was no longer in the box, he nevertheless ran to the Rue Scribe. Outside, in the street, he passed his trembling hands over the huge stones, felt for outlets, met with iron bars. Were those they, or these, or could it be that air hole? He...
TPG_PHEFUDDY 417 sent 50 embers with the message, spilled tea, I love your reading and this book.
Well, thank you very much there, Chef Buddy. That's very kind of you. Yeah. Very cool. You love the reading and the book. Have you actually read the book before? This is my first time reading through the book. I've seen the Broadway show a couple of times, and that's it. You have read it before? Cool. There we go. Embers ahoy! I like those. Yeah, you know what? Once again, I'm seeing I'm seeing those embers flying about a lot more ever since Mixer reduced the price of them again. They put that December thing back in action there, made it the new permanent prices. Anyway, yep. Thank you very much, Chef Buddy. Let's get back to it. Blah 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 blah. And when he found that the key was no longer in the box, he nevertheless ran to the Rue Scribe. Outside in the street, he passed his trembling hands over the huge stones, felt for outlets, met with iron bars. Were those they, or these? Or could it be that air hole? He plunged his useless eyes through the bars. How dark it was in there. He listened. All was silence. He went round the building and came to bigger bars, immense gates. It was the entrance to the Cour de l'Administration. The heart of the administration. I think Cour is heart, right? Raoul rushed into the doorkeeper's lodge. I beg your pardon, madame. Could you tell me where to find a gate or door, made of bars, iron bars, opening into the Rue Scribe, and leading to the lake? You know the lake, I mean. Yes, the underground lake, under the opera. Oh, yes, sir, I know there is a lake under the opera, but I don't know which door leads to it. I've never been there. And the Rue Scribe, madame, the Rue Scribe. Have you never been to the Rue Scribe? The woman laughed, screamed with laughter. Raoul darted away, roaring with anger, ran upstairs, 4 stairs at a time, downstairs, rushed through the whole of the business side of the opera house, found himself once more in the light of the stage. He stopped, with his heart thumping in his chest. Suppose Christine Daae had been found. He saw a group of men and asked, I beg your pardon, gentlemen, could you tell me where Christine Daae is? And somebody laughed. Okay, so this is catching up with the chapter that we just finished. All right. Okay, so yeah, this group of men having the conversation, and he comes up and says, I beg your pardon, gentlemen, could you tell me where Christine Daae is? Yeah, so all of this has been happening while the events of the previous chapter were going on. Okay. At the same moment, the stage buzzed with a new sound, and amid a crowd of men in evening dress, all talking and gesticulating together, appeared a man who seemed very calm and displayed a pleasant face, all pink and chubby-cheeked, crowned with curly hair and lit up by a pair of wonderfully serene blue eyes. Mercier, the acting manager, called the Vicomte de Chagny's attention to him and said, "This is the gentleman to whom you should put your question, monsieur. Let me introduce Mifroid, the commissary of police." "Ah, Monsieur le Vicomte de Chagny. Delighted to meet you, monsieur," said the commissary. "Would you mind coming with me? And now, where are the managers? Where are the managers?" Mercier did not answer, and Remy, the secretary, volunteered the information that the managers were locked up in their office, and that they knew nothing as yet of what had happened. "You don't mean to say so. Let's go up to the office." And Monsieur Mifroid, followed by an ever-increasing crowd, turned toward the business side of the building. Mercier took advantage of the confusion to slip a key into Gabrielle's hand. "This is all going very badly," he whispered. "You had better let Mother Giry out." And Gabrielle moved away. They soon came to the manager's door. Mercier stormed in vain. The door remained closed. "Open in the name of the law," commanded Monsieur Mifroid in a loud and rather anxious voice. At last the door was opened. All rushed into the office on the commissary's heels. Raoul was the last to enter. As he was about to follow the rest into the room, a hand was laid on his shoulder, and he heard these words spoken in his ear. "Eric's secrets concern no one but himself." He turned around with a stifled exclamation. The hand that was laid on his shoulder was now placed on the lips of a person with an ebony skin, with eyes of jade, and with an astrakhan cap upon his head. The Persian. The stranger kept up the gesture that recommended discretion, and then, at the moment when the astonished Viscount was about to ask the reason of his mysterious intervention, he bowed and disappeared. Okay, so, from here, no, I was watching a video article, about this particular book, and apparently the Persian's the one who's been narrating the entire story. But apparently his part, like as an actual player in the story, it gets really, really big from here on out. And this is something which is missing from almost every single adaptation there, including the musical. Yeah, so like pretty much, from what I understand, pretty much all of the adaptations there, the part of the Persian gets absorbed by Madame Giry most of the time. Okay, chapter 16. Madame Giry's astounding revelations as to her personal relations with the opera ghost. The opera ghost. Before following the commissary into the manager's office, I must describe certain ordinary occurrences that took place in that office, which Remy and Mercier had vainly tried to enter, and into which Monsieurs Richard and Moncharmin had locked themselves with an object which the reader does not yet know, but which it is my duty as an historian to reveal without further postponement. I have had occasion to say that the manager's mood had undergone a disagreeable change for some time past, and to convey the fact that this change was due not only to the fall of the chandelier on the famous night of the gala performance. The reader must know that the ghost had calmly been paid his first 20,000 francs. Oh, there had been wailing and gnashing of teeth indeed, and yet the thing had happened as simply as could be. One morning the managers found on their table an envelope addressed to Monsieur O.G., private, and accompanied by a note from O.G. himself. The time has come to carry out the clause in the memorandum book. Please put 20 notes of 1,000 francs each into this envelope. Seal it with your own seal, and hand it to Madame Giry. who will do what is necessary." The managers did not hesitate. Without wasting time in asking how these confounded communications came to be delivered in an office which they were careful to keep locked, they seized this opportunity of laying hands on the mysterious blackmailer. And after telling the whole story, under the promise of secrecy, to Gabrielle and Mercier, they put the 20,000 francs into the envelope, and without asking for explanations, handed it to Madame Giry, who had been reinstated in her functions. The box-keeper displayed no astonishment. I need hardly say that she was well watched. She went straight to the ghost's box and placed the precious envelope on the little shelf attached to the ledge. The two managers, as well as Gabrielle and Mercier, were hidden in such a way that they did not lose sight of the envelope for a second during the performance, and even afterward, for as the envelope had not moved, those who watched it did not move either. And Madame Giry went away, while the managers, Gabrielle and Mercier, were still there. At last they became tired of waiting, and opened the envelope, after ascertaining that the seals had not been broken. At first, Richard and Moncharmin thought that the notes were still there, but they soon perceived that they were not the same. The 20 real notes were gone, and had been replaced by 20 notes of the Bank of Saint Farce. The manager's rage and fright was unmistakable. Moncharmin wanted to send for the commissary of police, but Richard objected. He no doubt had a plan, for he said, Don't let us make a fool about—" Oh, no, he didn't say that at all. He said, "Don't let us make ourselves ridiculous. All Paris would laugh at us. OG has won the first game. We will win the second." He was thinking of the next month's allowance. Nevertheless, they had been so absolutely tricked that they were bound to suffer a certain dejection, and upon my word it was not difficult to understand. We must not forget that the managers had an idea at the back of their minds all the time that this strange incident might be an unpleasant practical joke on the part of their predecessors, and that it would not do to divulge it prematurely. On the other hand, Moncharmin was sometimes troubled with a suspicion of Richard himself, who occasionally took fanciful whims into his head. And so they were content to await events, while keeping an eye on Mother Giry. Richard would not have her spoken to. "If she is a Confederate," he said, "the notes are gone long ago, but in my opinion she's merely an idiot." "She's not the only idiot in this business," said Moncharmin pensively. "Well, who could have thought it?" moaned Richard. "But don't be afraid. Next time I shall take my precautions." The next time fell on the same day that beheld the disappearance of Christine Daae. In the morning, a note from the ghost reminded them that the money was due. It read, "Do just as you did last time. It went very well. Put the 20,000 in the envelope and hand it to our excellent Madame Giry." And the note was accompanied by the usual envelope. They had only to insert the notes. This was done about half an hour before the curtain rose on the first act of Faust. Richard showed the envelope to Moncharmin. Then he counted the 20,000 franc notes in front of him, and put the notes into the envelope, but without closing it. And who's this? This is Richard. Okay, so it's Richard doing it. Okay. "And now," he said, "let's have Mother Giry in." The old woman was sent for. She entered with a sweeping courtesy. She still wore her black taffeta dress, the color of which was rapidly turning to rust and lilac, to say nothing of the dingy bonnet. She seemed in good temper. She at once said, "Good evening, gentlemen. It's for the envelope, I suppose." "Yes, Madame Giry," said Richard most amiably, "for the envelope, and something else besides." "At your service, Monsieur Richard, at your service. And what is the something else, please?"
First of all, Madame Giry, I have a little question to put to you. By all means, Monsieur Richard. Madame Giry is here to answer you. Are you still on good terms with the ghost? Couldn't be better, sir, couldn't be better. We are delighted. Look here, Madame Giry, said Richard in the tone of making an important confidence. We may just as well tell you, among ourselves, you're no fool. Why, sir, exclaimed the box-keeper, stopping the pleasant nodding of the black feathers in her dingy bonnet, I assure you no one has ever doubted that. We are quite agreed, and we shall soon understand one another. The story of the ghost is all humbug, isn't it? Well, still, between ourselves, it has lasted long enough. Madame Giry looked at the managers as though they were talking Chinese. She walked up to Richard's table and asked rather anxiously, "Oh, what do you mean? I don't understand." "Oh, you understand quite well. In any case, you've got to understand. And first of all, tell us his name." "Whose name?" "The name of the man whose accomplice you are, Madame Giry." "I am the ghost's accomplice. I? His accomplice in what, pray?" "You do all he wants." "Oh, he's not very troublesome, you know." "And does he still tip you?" "I mustn't complain." "How much does he give you for bringing him that envelope?" 10 francs. "Oh, you poor thing, that's not much, is it?" "Why?" "I'll tell you that presently, Madame Giry. Just now we should like to know for what extraordinary reason you have given yourself body and soul to this ghost, Madame." "Oh, Madame Giry's friendship and devotion are not to be bought for 5 francs or 10 francs. "That's true enough, and I can tell you the reason, sir. There's no disgrace about it. On the contrary." "We're quite sure of that, Madame Giry?" "Well, it's like this. Only the ghost doesn't like me to talk about his business." "Indeed?" sneered Richard. "But this is a matter that concerns myself alone. Well, it was in box 5 one evening I found a letter addressed to myself, a sort of note written in red ink. I needn't read the letter to you, sir. I know it by heart, and I shall never forget it if I live to be 100. And Madame Giry, drawing herself up, recited the letter with touching eloquence. "Oh, Chef Buddy is out of here. You got to get back to work?" "Well, it's work obligations. Gotta pay them bills too. Enjoy the rest of your day there, Chef Buddy." "Madame." This will be the ghost's voice. "Madame, 1825. Mademoiselle Menetrier, leader of the ballet, became Marquise de Cossy. 1832. Mademoiselle Marie Taglioni, a dancer, became Comtesse Gilberte de Voisin. My French not so good. 1846. La Sota, a dancer, married a brother of the King of Spain. 1847. Lola Montes, a dancer, became the morganatic wife of King Louis of Bavaria and was created Countess of Landsfield. What's morganatic? Denoting a marriage in which neither the spouse of lower rank nor any children have any claim to the so it's a marriage. If you marry some royalty, you any children will not count in the succession. All right. 1848. Mademoiselle Maria, a dancer, became Baron d'Urneville. 1870. Teresa Hessier, a dancer, married Dom Fernando, brother to the King of Portugal. Richard and Moncharmin listened to the old woman who, as she proceeded with the enumeration of these glorious nuptials, swelled out, took courage, and at last, in a voice bursting with pride, flung out the last sentence of the prophetic letter. 1885. Meg Giry, Empress. Exhausted by this supreme effort, the box-keeper fell into a chair. saying, "Gentlemen, the letter was signed Opera Ghost. I had heard much of the ghost, but only half believed in him. From the day when he declared that my little Meg, the flesh of my flesh, the fruit of my womb, would be empress, I believed in him altogether."
And really, it was not necessary to make a long study of Madame Giry's excited features to understand what could be got out of that fine intellect with the two words ghost and empress. But who pulled the strings of that extraordinary puppet? That was the question.
"You have never seen him. He speaks to you, and you believe all he says," says Moncharmin. "Yes, to begin with, I owe it to him that my little Meg was promoted to be the leader of a row. I said to the ghost, if she's to be the empress in 1885, there is no time to lose. She must become a leader at once. He said, look upon it as done. And he had only a word to say to Monsieur Poligny, and the thing was done." "So you see that Monsieur Poligny saw him?" "No, not any more than I did, but he heard him. The ghost said a word in his ear, you know, on the evening when he left box 5, looking so dreadfully pale."
Moncharmin heaved a sigh.
"What a business!" he groaned. "Ah," said Madame Giry, "I always thought there were secrets between the ghost and Monsieur Poligny. Anything that the ghost asked Monsieur Poligny to do, Monsieur Poligny did. Monsieur Poligny could refuse the ghost nothing." "You hear, Richard? Poligny could refuse the ghost nothing."
Yes, yes, I hear," said Richard. "Monsieur Poligny is a friend of the ghost, and as Madame Giry is a friend of Monsieur Poligny, there we are. But I don't care a hang about Monsieur Poligny," he added roughly. "The only person whose fate really interests me is Madame Giry. Madame Giry, do you know what is in this envelope?"
"Why, of course not," she said.
"Well, look." Mine? What does mine stand for? Mine. There's got to be a typo, madame. Madame Giry looked into the envelope with a lackluster eye, which soon recovered its brilliancy. 20,000 franc notes, she cried. Man, I'm just butchering everything all over the place today. Good Lord. 1,000 franc notes, she cried. Yes, Madame Giry, 1,000 franc notes, and you knew it.
"Aye, sir, I swear—"
"Don't swear, Madame Giry. And now I will tell you the second reason why I sent for you. Madame Giry, I am going to have you arrested." The two black feathers on the dingy bonnet, which usually affected the attitude of 2 notes of interrogation, changed to 2 notes of exclamation. As for the bonnet itself, it swayed in menace on the old lady's tempestuous chignon. Surprise, indignation, protest, and dismay were furthermore displayed by little Meg's mother in a sort of extravagant movement of offended virtue, half bound, half slide, that brought her right under the nose of Monsieur Richard, who could not help pushing back his chair.
"Have me arrested?"
The mouth that spoke those words seemed to spit the 3 teeth that were left to it into Richard's face. Monsieur Richard behaved like a hero. He retreated no farther. His threatening forefinger seemed to already be pointing out the keeper of box 5 to the absent magistrates. "I'm going to have you arrested, Madame Giry, as a thief."
"Say that again."
And Madame Giry caught Monsieur Manager Richard a mighty box on the ear before Mr. Manager Moncharmin had time to intervene. But it was not the withered hand of the angry old beldame that fell on the managerial ear, but the envelope itself, the cause of all the trouble, the magic envelope that opened with the blow.
scattering the banknotes, which escaped in a fantastic whirl of giant butterflies. The two managers gave a shout, and the same thought made them both go on their knees, feverishly, picking up and hurriedly examining the precious scraps of paper. "Are they still genuine, mon cher man?" "Are they still genuine, Richard?" "Yes, they are still genuine." Above their heads, Madame Giry's 3 teeth were clashing in a noisy contest, full of hideous interjections. But all that could be clearly distinguished was that this was leitmotif. What is that? Was this late? We're going to look that one up. Oh boy, leitmotif. What is that?
Leitmotif.
Leitmotif. Okay. A recurrent theme throughout a musical or literary composition. Oh, yeah. Associated with a particular person, idea, or situation. All right, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah. The leitmotif. Kind of like, whenever Darth Vader appears, it's like, don, 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 don. Okay. I need my chat windows back now. Let's see my chat windows. A leitmotif. We're getting smarter every day here. "I, a thief! I, a thief! I—" She choked with rage. She shouted, "I never heard of such a thing!" And suddenly she darted up to Richard again. "In any case," she yelped, "you, Monsieur Richard, ought to know better than I where the 20,000 francs went to." "My?" asked Richard, astounded. "And how should I know?" Moncharmin, looking severe and dissatisfied, at once insisted that the good lady should explain herself. "What does this mean, Madame Giry?" he asked. "And why do you say that Monsieur Richard ought to know better than you where the 20,000 francs went to?" As for Richard, who felt himself turning red under Moncharmin's eyes, he took Madame Giry by the wrist and shook it violently. In a voice growling and rolling like thunder, he roared, "Why should I know better than you where the 20,000 francs went to? Why? Answer me." "Because they went into your pocket," gasped the old woman, looking at him as if he were the devil incarnate. Richard would have rushed upon Madame Giry if Moncharmin had not stayed his avenging hand and hastened to ask her more gently, "How can you suspect my partner, Monsieur Richard, of putting 20,000 francs in his pocket?" "I never said that," declared Madame Giry, "seeing that it was myself who put the 20,000 francs into Monsieur Richard's pocket." And she added, under her voice, "There, it's out, and may the ghost forgive me." Richard began bellowing anew, but Moncharmin authoritatively ordered him to be silent. Allow me, let the woman explain herself, let me question her." And he added, "It is really astonishing that you should take up such a tone. We are on the verge of clearing up the whole mystery, and you're in a rage. You're wrong to behave like that. I'm enjoying myself immensely." Madame Giry, like the martyr that she was, raised her head, her face beaming with faith in her own innocence. "You tell me there were 20,000 francs in the... Oh, no. Okay, let's back up. This is Madame Giry. "You tell me that there were 20,000 francs in the envelope which I put into Monsieur Richard's pocket, but I tell you again that I knew nothing about it. Nor Monsieur Richard either, for that matter." "Uh-huh," said Richard, suddenly assuming a swaggering air which Moncharmin did not like. "I knew nothing either. You put 20,000 francs in my pocket, and I knew nothing either. I'm very glad to hear it, Madame Giry." "Yes," the terrible dame agreed. "Yes, it's true. We neither of us knew anything. But you must have ended by finding out." Richard would certainly have swallowed Madame Giry alive if Moncharmin had not been there. But Moncharmin protected her. He resumed his questions. What sort of envelope did you put in Monsieur Richard's pocket? It was not the one which we gave you, the one which you took to box 5 before our eyes, and yet that was the one which contained the 20,000 francs. I beg your pardon. The envelope which Monsieur le Directeur gave me was the one which I slipped into Monsieur le Directeur's pocket, explained Madame Giry. The one which I took to the ghost's box was another envelope just like it, which the ghost gave me beforehand, and which I had hid up my sleeve. So saying, Madame Giry took from her sleeve an envelope ready prepared and similarly addressed to that containing the 20,000 francs. The managers took it from her. They examined it and saw that it was fastened with seals stamped with their own managerial seal. They opened it. It contained 20 Bank of St. Farce notes, like those which had so much astounded them the month before. "How simple," said Richard. "How simple," repeated Moncharmin, and he continued with his eyes fixed upon Madame Giry as though trying to hypnotize her. "So, it was the ghost who gave you this envelope, and told you to substitute it for the one which we gave you. And it was the ghost who told you to put the other into Monsieur Richard's pocket." "Yes, it was the ghost." "Then would you mind giving us a specimen of your little talents? Here is the envelope. Act as though we knew nothing." "As you please, gentlemen." Madame Giry took the envelope with the 20 notes inside it and made for the door. She was on the point of going out when the 2 managers rushed at her. Oh no, we're not going to be done a second time. Once bitten, twice shy." "Oh, I beg your pardon, gentlemen," said the old woman in self-excuse. "You told me to act as though you knew nothing. Well, if you knew nothing, I should go away with your envelope." "And then how would you slip it into my pocket?" argued Richard, whom Moncharmin fixed with his left eye, while keeping his right on Madame Giry. A proceeding likely to strain his sight, but Moncharmin was prepared to go to any length to discover the truth. "I am to slip it into your pocket when you least expect it, sir. You know that I always take a little turn behind the scenes in the course of the evening, and I often go with my daughter to the ballet foyer, which I am entitled to do as her mother. I bring her shoes when the ballet is about to begin. In fact, I come and go as I please. The subscribers come and go, too. So do you, sir. There are lots of people about. I go behind you and slip the envelope into the tail pocket of your dress coat. There's no witchcraft about that." "No witchcraft," growled Richard, rolling his eyes like Jupiter Tonans. "No witchcraft. Why, I've just caught you in a lie, you old witch." Madame Giry bristled, with her 3 teeth sticking out of her mouth. "And why, may I ask?" "Because I spent that evening watching Box 5 and the sham envelope which you put there. I did not go to the ballet foyer for a second." "No, sir, I did not give you the envelope that evening, but at the next performance, on the evening when the Under-Secretary of State for Fine Arts—" At these words, Monsieur Richard suddenly interrupted Madame Giry. "Yes, that's true. I remember now. The Under-Secretary went behind the scenes. He asked for me. I went down to the ballet foyer for a moment. I was on the foyer steps. The Under-Secretary and his chief clerk were in the foyer itself. I suddenly turned around. You had passed behind me, Madame Giry. You seemed to push against me. Oh, I can see you still. I can see you still." "Yes, that's it, sir, that's it. I had just finished my little business. That pocket of yours, sir, is very handy." "Good morning, Mike. Good morning." Hello on this fine Tuesday. A grand entrance. A grand entrance. And Madame Giry once more suited the action to the word. She passed behind Monsieur Richard, and so nimbly that Moncharmin himself was impressed by it, slipped the envelope into the pocket of one of the tails of Monsieur Richard's dress coat. "Of course," exclaimed Richard, looking a little pale. "It's very clever of O.G. The problem which he had to solve was this: how to do away with any dangerous intermediary between the man who gives the 20,000 francs and the man who receives it. And by far the best thing he could hit upon was to come and take the money from my pocket without my noticing it, as I myself did not know that it was there. It's wonderful. Oh, wonderful, no doubt, Moncharmin agreed. Only you forget, Richard, that I provided 10,000 francs of that 20, and that nobody put anything in my pocket. And there we go with these little bits of comedy, little pieces of comedy. Yeah, today the whole thing's taken like a very comical turn. Okay. Very good. Okay, we're going to we'll get on with our story in just a minute. Just going to take a little opportunity to stretch some. Aye. Ooh. Excuse me. Man. Yeah, I know, I feel a little tired today. Don't know why. Was not up late. Got a fairly good night. Very good night. Anyway, here we are. We're in, back to it in just a second. All right. There we go. Thank you for making your work afternoon fun. Well, you're very welcome. Very welcome there, Tillable Cat. Yeah, we just work our way through some books. Yeah. Oh, this is actually a perfect opportunity, actually. We'll get on with the next chapter in just a second. Just a reminder that at the end of the stream, I'll be going over all the details for our Creative Writers event, the Edgar Allan Poe experiment. So, and I'll be reading the story once again, the unfinished story by Edgar Allan Poe. That we, creative writers in the stream have taken it upon themselves to complete and finish. Still 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks to go till we have the big reading of everything. So if there are any creative writers who want to get on board with this, hop on in. I have the details in my Discord, and obviously I'll be talking about it toward the end of the stream here. It'll be a good time. It'll be a good time, a very good time. Okay. Let's continue. Let's continue with our book. Oh, of course, my monitor window just froze again. Fantastic. Okay, just put that little. Okay, back in we go. Chapter 17. The safety pin again. Moncharmin's last phrase so dearly expressed the suspicion in which he now held his partner that it was bound to cause a stormy explanation, at the end of which it was agreed that Richard should yield to all Moncharmin's wishes, with the object of helping him to discover the miscreant who was victimizing them. This brings us to the interval after the Garden Act, with the strange conduct observed by Monsieur Remy and those curious lapses from the dignity that might be expected of the managers. It was arranged between Richard and Moncharmin, first, that Richard should repeat the exact movements which he had made on the night of the disappearance of the first 20,000 francs, and second, that Moncharmin should not for an instant lose sight of Richard's coat-tail pocket, into which Madame Giry was to slip the 20,000 francs. Monsieur Richard went and placed himself at the identical spot where he had stood when he bowed to the Undersecretary for Fine Arts. Monsieur Moncharmin took up his position a few steps behind him. Madame Giry passed, rubbed up against Monsieur Richard, got rid of her 20,000 francs in the manager's coat-tail pocket, and disappeared. Or rather, she was conjured away.
In accordance with the instructions received from Moncharmin a few minutes earlier, Mercier took the good lady to the acting manager's office and turned the key on her, thus making it impossible for her to communicate with her ghost. Meanwhile, Monsieur Richard was bending and bowing and scraping and walking backward, just as if he had that high and mighty minister, the Under-Secretary for Fine Arts, before him. Only, though, these marks of politeness would have created no astonishment if the Under-Secretary of State had really been in front of Monsieur Richard. They caused an easily comprehensible amazement to the spectators of this very natural but quite inexplicable scene, when Monsieur Richard had no body in front of him. Monsieur Richard bowed to nobody, bent his back before nobody, and walked backward before nobody. And a few steps behind him, Monsieur Moncharmin did the same thing that he was doing, in addition to pushing away Monsieur Remy and begging Monsieur de la Borderie, the ambassador, and the manager of the Credit Central, not to touch Monsieur le Directeur. Moncharmin, who had his own ideas, did not want Richard to come to him presently, when the 20,000 francs were gone, and say, "Perhaps it was the ambassador, or the manager of the Credit Central, or Remy." The more so as, at the time of the first scene, as Richard himself admitted, Richard had met nobody in that part of the theatre after Madame Giry had brushed up against him. Having begun by walking backward in order to bow, Richard continued to do so from prudence until he reached the passage leading to the offices of the management. In this way he was constantly watched by Moncharmin from behind, and himself kept an eye on anyone approaching from the front. Once more, this novel method of walking behind the scenes, adopted by the managers of our National Academy of Music, attracted attention, but the managers themselves thought of nothing but their 20,000 francs. On reaching the half-dark passage, Richard said to Moncharmin in a low voice, "I am sure that nobody has touched me. You'd better now keep at some distance from me and watch me till I come to the door of the office. It is better not to arouse suspicion, and we can see anything that happens." But Moncharmin replied, "No, Richard, no. You walk ahead, and I'll walk immediately behind you. I won't leave you by a step." "But in that case," exclaimed Richard, "they will never steal our 20,000 francs." "I should hope not, indeed," declared Moncharmin. "Then what we are doing is absurd." "We are doing exactly what we did last time. Last time I joined you as you were leaving the stage and followed close behind you down this passage." "That's true," sighed Richard, shaking his head and passively obeying Moncharmin. 2 minutes later, the joint managers locked themselves into their office. Moncharmin himself put the key in his pocket. "We remained locked up like this last time," he said, "until you left the opera to go home." "That's so. No one came and disturbed us, I suppose?" "No one." "Then," said Richard, who was trying to collect his memory, "then I must certainly have been robbed on my way home from the opera." "No," said Moncharmin in a drier tone than ever. "No, that's impossible, for I dropped you in my cab. The 20,000 francs disappeared at your place. There's not a shadow of a doubt about it." "It's incredible," protested Richard. "I'm sure of my servants, and if one of them had done it, he would have disappeared since." Moncharmin shrugged his shoulders as though to say that he did not wish to enter into details, and Richard began to think that Moncharmin was treating him in a very insupportable fashion. "Sup there, King Tut?" "Moncharmin, I've had enough of this." "Richard, I've had too much of it." "Do you dare to suspect me?" "Yes, of a silly joke." "One doesn't joke with 20,000 francs." "That's what I think.
declared Moncharmin, unfolding a newspaper and ostentatiously studying its contents. "What are you doing?" asked Richard. "Are you going to read the paper next?" "Yes, Richard, until I take you home." "Like last time?" "Yes, like last time." Richard snatched the paper from Moncharmin's hands. Moncharmin stood up, more irritated than ever, and found himself faced by an exasperated Richard, who, crossing his arms on his chest, said, "Look here, I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of what I might think if, like last time, after my spending the evening alone with you, you brought me home, and if, at the moment of parting, I perceived that 20,000 francs had disappeared from my coat pocket. Like last time." "And what might you think?" asked Moncharmin, crimson with rage. "I might think that as you hadn't left me by a foot's breadth, and as by your own wish you were the only one to approach me, like last time, I might think that if that 20,000 francs was no longer in my pocket, it stood a very good chance of being in yours." Moncharmin leaped up at the suggestion. "Oh," he shouted, "a safety pin." "What do you want a safety pin for?" "To fasten you up with. A safety pin, a safety pin." "You want to fasten me with a safety pin?" "Yes, to fasten you to the 20,000 francs. Then, whether it's here or on the drive from here to your place or at your place, you will feel the hand that pulls at your pocket, and you will see if it's mine. Oh, so you're suspecting me now, are you? A safety pin." And that was the moment when Moncharmin opened the door of the passage and shouted, "A safety pin! Somebody give me a safety pin!" And we also know how, at the same moment, Remy, who had no safety pin, was received by Moncharmin, while a boy procured the pin so eagerly longed for. And what happened was this. Moncharmin first locked the door again. Then he knelt down behind Richard's back. "I hope," he said, "that the notes are still there." "So do I," said Richard. "The real ones?" asked Moncharmin, resolved not to be had this time. "Look for yourself," said Richard. "I refuse to touch them." Moncharmin took the envelope from Richard's pocket and drew out the banknotes with a trembling hand, for this time, in order frequently to make sure of the presence of the notes, he had not sealed the envelope, nor even fastened it. He felt reassured on finding that they were all there and quite genuine. He put them back in the tail pocket and pinned them with great care. Then he sat down behind Richard's coat-tails and kept his eyes fixed on them, while Richard, sitting at his writing table, did not stir. "A little patience, Richard," said Moncharmin. "We have only a few minutes to wait. The clock will soon strike 12. Last time we left at the last stroke of 12. "Oh, I shall have all the patience necessary." The time passed. Slow, heavy, mysterious, stifling. Richard tried to laugh. "I shall end by believing in the omnipotence of the ghost," he said. "Just now, don't you find something uncomfortable, disquieting, alarming in the atmosphere of this room?" "You're quite right," said Moncharmin, who was really impressed. "The ghost," continued Richard in a low voice, as though fearing lest he should be overheard by invisible ears. "The ghost. Suppose, all the same, it were a ghost who puts the magic envelopes on the table, who talks in box 5, who killed Joseph Bouquet, who unhooked the chandelier, and who robs us. For after all, there is no one here except you and me. And if the notes disappear and neither you nor I have anything to do with it, well, we shall have to believe in the ghost. In the ghost." At that moment, the clock on the mantelpiece gave its warning click, and the first stroke of 12 struck. The two managers shuddered. The perspiration streamed from their foreheads. The 12th stroke sounded strangely in their ears. When the clock stopped, they gave a sigh and rose from their chairs. "I think we can go now," said Moncharmin. "I think so," Richard agreed. "Before we go, do you mind if I look in your pocket?" "But of course, Moncharmin, you must." "Well," he asked as Moncharmin was feeling at the pocket. "Well, I can feel the pin." "Of course, as you said, we can't be robbed without noticing it." But Moncharmin, whose hands were still fumbling, bellowed, "I can feel the pin, but I can't feel the notes." "Come, no joking, Moncharmin. This isn't the time for it." "Well, feel for yourself." Richard tore off his coat. The two managers turned the pocket inside out. The pocket was empty. And the curious thing was that the pin remained, stuck in the same place. Richard and Moncharmin turned pale. There was no longer any doubt about the witchcraft. "The ghost," muttered Moncharmin. But Richard suddenly sprang upon his partner. "No one but you has touched my pocket. Give me back my 20,000 francs. Give me back my 20,000 francs. "On my soul," sighed Moncharmin, who was ready to swoon. "On my soul, I swear I haven't got it." Then somebody knocked at the door. Moncharmin opened it automatically, seemed hardly to recognize Mercier, his business manager, exchanged a few words with him, without knowing what he was saying, and with an unconscious movement put the safety pin, for which he had no further use, into the hands of his bewildered subordinate. Okay, so that was another flashback chapter. Good Lord. The chapters have got a lot shorter, by the way. Yeah, so it's and the tone of them, and the tone of them have changed a lot too. I guess that's the kind of thing that's going to happen though when you're writing and publishing a story in serialized form. You know, like you don't have the entire thing all ready, good to go, and put out there. So yeah, elements can change. Elements can change as you keep writing them. All right, that was kind of funny. Okay, but that's as far as we're going with this book today, The Phantom of the Opera. We've still got more stories to come. Still got more to come. But let me pick up a short story here real fast. We'll find something interesting. What was good? Astounding story. Astounding Stories of Super Science. Very, very good. Very good. Too long to do right now. Let me just change scenes real fast here while I search up some stuff. What was I looking for? Russian. Best Russian short stories. Where's that one about the boat? This one, yeah, this one here. We're going to read this one. One Autumn Night. I read this one before on Short Story Sunday. Can't seem to get it out of my head. We're just going to change our book title here. So this is a Russian short story by Maxim Gorky. Autumn Night by Maxim Gorky. Yeah. Just save that. Alrighty, just some short stories. Tillable Cat throwing down some book club stickers. I dig it. I dig it. Well, thank you. I'm glad you found our channel here. Glad you found our channel here, Tillable Cat. Okay. For those who don't know, Monday through Thursday, unless I get booked on something, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I usually read for about 2 hours. During the week, we work our way through novels. They usually end with a short story of some kind. And then on Sundays, we have Short Story Sunday, which is all short stories, poems. Sometimes creative writers send stories in. There's no Short Story Sunday this coming weekend, heads up, because I'm at a Halo tournament. But the following weekend is we're going to be reading all the stories that everyone's written for the Edgar Allan Poe experiment. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, that's something I need to do. Yes, after we're finished with this short story, then we'll do the finer details of the Edgar Allan Poe experiment for any creative writers who might be interested in it. But that's always a good time. Shadowtronics, good to see you, my man. How are you doing? We've been missing you. What happened while you were gone? The Phantom of the Opera is winning the day. The Phantom of the Opera has what happened where since you were gone? Oh, the Spark Crystal. Oh yeah. Oh boy, yeah, you wouldn't believe this. Okay, no, yesterday, Smooth Criminal, who's been like a long-time friend of the stream, but usually a very quiet one. Actually, she's a common friend with myself, Gotham Gotcha, and Spasmatic. She just swung by and was just like, I hope you don't mind me dropping off these 6.5 million points, sparks. And I'm like, okay, that's I don't mind at all. And then a bit later in the night, Backward Lion came in and it was just like, hey, I hope you don't mind me dropping off these 6.5 million sparks. It was like two people dropping off like this insane amount of sparks, and it got all the way up there. So that's all maxed out. And so it's got 4 days to go till it resets. So I mean, that reminds me, I better turn off that spark dump. 1 second, let me grab that real fast. Let me do that before I forget. But anyway, how you doing, man? Doing good? Which one are we turning off spark dump? Let's see, do I need to stop it and reset it, or will it just like turn off? I think I have to like disconnect and disconnect, refresh, and reset. You just woke up? All right. Sounds like your sleep schedule's off a little bit right now. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was meaning to ask you. Reach on PC. I'm trying hard to put together a team for a Reach versus Reach on PC. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's you're up for it. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's 3. I got 3 out of 4. I need one more. Reach on PC. So but you know, it's Griff. Oh, and we're practicing tomorrow night. Actually, we might practice a bit tonight too. Actually, I need to install it on my PC. Hey, King Danny, what's up? You just had the police around. Someone was banging on your door. That sounds spooky. Who was it the police banging on your door, or was it like someone was banging on your door and you had to get the police coming around to be like shoo them away? Yes, yeah, that's it's always a little weird when the police gotta come on by. All right. Well, hope it turned out okay. It's a weird situation like that. Okay, so here we go. But anyway, let's go. We got to get into our story. We got to get into our story here. So let's switch back to our scene. There we go. Book. Where is, is there no chat window on this? Pixel chat. Oh, there is. Yeah, there is. It's right there.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, that's Dahlia. How you doing, Dahlia? Yeah, we just finished an hour and a half of The Phantom of the Opera. How's Dahlia doing this morning? Lana Ward's still with us. Good gracious. Enjoying the day. You are on 2,100 words. This is going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting. Yeah. Okay. Actually, you know, after we finish this short story, I'm going to be going over the entire Edgar Allan Poe experiment with the stream there, just for anyone who's in there. But anyway, I'm very excited that Dahlia is hopping on board. We're going to try their hand at finishing and completing and finishing that Edgar Allan Poe story. Okay, so men bang on your door. You phone the police. You don't know. The police have moved. All right. Well, maybe they knew the person who lived there before you or something. I don't know. All right. Well, at least the police took care of it. That's cool. That's something. Okay, here we go. One Autumn Night by Maxim Gorky. Some of you have heard this one before. Once in the autumn, I happened to be in a very unpleasant and inconvenient position. In the town where I had just arrived and where I knew not a soul, I found myself without a farthing in my pocket and without a night's lodging. Having sold during the first few days every part of my costume, without which it was still possible to go about, I passed from the town into the quarter called East, where were the steamship wharves. A quarter which during the navigation season fermented with boisterous, laborious life, but now was silent and deserted, for we were in the last days of October. Dragging my feet along the moist sand and obstinately scrutinizing it with the desire to discover in it any sort of fragment of food, I wandered alone among the deserted buildings and warehouses and thought how good it would be to get a full meal. In our present state of culture, hunger of the mind is more quickly satisfied than hunger of the body. You wander about the streets, you are surrounded by buildings, not bad-looking from the outside, and you may safely say it, not so badly furnished inside. And the sight of them may excite within you stimulating ideas about architecture, hygiene, and many other wise and high-flying subjects. You may meet warmly and neatly dressed folks, all very polite and turning away from you tactfully, not wishing offensively to notice the lamentable fact of your existence. Well, the mind of a hungry man is always better nourished and healthier than the mind of the well-fed man, and there you have a situation from which you may draw a very ingenious conclusion in favor of the ill-fed. The evening was approaching, the rain was falling, and the wind blew violently from the north. It whistled in the empty booths and shops, blew into the plastered window panes of the taverns, and whipped into foam the wavelets of the river, which splashed noisily on the sandy shore, casting high their white crests, racing one after another into the dim distance, and leaping impetuously over one another's shoulders. It seemed as if the river felt the proximity of winter, and was running at random away from the fetters of ice which the north wind might well have flung upon her that very night. The sky was heavy and dark. Down from it swept incessantly scarcely visible drops of rain, and the melancholy elegy in nature all around me was emphasized by a couple of battered and misshapen willow trees, and a boat, bottom upwards, that was fastened to their roots. The overturned canoe, with its battered keel and the miserable old trees rifled by the wind. Everything around me was bankrupt, barren, and dead, and the sky flowed with undryable tears. Everything around was waste and gloomy. It seemed as if everything were dead, leaving me alone among the living. And for me, also, a cold death
waited. I was then 18 years old. A good time. Yeah, oh, yeah, getting that story there. Getting in there. It's going to be, it's going to be a very, very exciting day. Yeah, Sunday, February 23rd, when we read all those stories, and Art by Galen there is doing all the sketching. It's going to be awesome. You've decided how you're going to end it. Very cool. I'm excited. It's going to be, boy, oh boy, oh boy. I was very excited when I heard Dahlia was going to try writing one, too. I walked and walked along the cold, wet sand, making my chattering teeth warble in honor of cold and hunger, when suddenly, as I was carefully searching for something to eat behind one of the empty crates, I perceived behind it, crouching on the ground, a figure in woman's clothes, dank with the rain and clinging fast to her stooping shoulders. Standing over her, I watched to see what she was doing. It appeared that she was digging a trench in the sand with her hands, digging away under one of the crates. "Why are you doing that?" I asked, crouching down on my heels quite close to her. She gave a little scream and was quickly on her legs again. Now that she stood there staring at me with her wide-open grey eyes full of terror, I perceived that it was a girl of my own age, with a very pleasant face, embellished unfortunately by 3 large blue marks. This spoilt her, although these blue marks had been distributed with a remarkable sense of proportion, one at a time, and all were of equal size. 2 under the eyes, and one a little bigger on the forehead, just over the bridge of the nose. This symmetry was evidently the work of an artist well inured to the business of spoiling the human physiognomy. The girl looked at me, and the terror in her eyes gradually died out. She shook the sand from her hands, adjusted her cotton headgear, cowered down, and said, "I suppose you, too, want something to eat. Dig away, then. My hands are tired. Over there." She nodded her head in the direction of a booth. "There is bread for certain. And sausages, too. That booth is still carrying on business." I began to dig. She, after waiting a little and looking at me, sat down beside me and began to help me. Shadowtronics. I recorded a long story yesterday. For the Patreon side of things, and I'll be editing. I'll be doing a bit of live editing on it today. Actually, you know what? It's 11:45 already. Maybe not live editing today, but I recorded it yesterday. I think you're gonna like it. Oh, Skate Park Jimmy's back. Hey, man. We worked in silence. I cannot say now whether I thought at that moment of the criminal code, of morality, of proprietorship, and all the other things about which, in the opinion of many experienced persons, one ought to think every moment of one's life. Wishing to keep as close to the truth as possible, I must confess that apparently I was so deeply engaged in digging under the crate that I completely forgot about everything else except this one thing. What could be inside that crate? The evening drew on. The grey, mouldy, cold fog grew thicker and thicker around us. The waves roared with a hollower sound than before, and the rain pattered down on the boards of that crate more loudly and more frequently. Somewhere or other the night watchman began springing his rattle. "Has it got a bottom or not?" softly inquired my assistant. I did not understand what she was talking about, and I kept silence. "I say, has the crate got a bottom? If it has, we shall try in vain to break into it. Here we are digging a trench, and we may, after all, come upon nothing but solid boards. How shall we take them off? Better smash the lock. It's a wretched lock." Good ideas rarely visit the heads of women.
That has not aged well. Good ideas rarely visit the heads of women, but as you see, they do visit them sometimes. I have always valued good ideas, and have always tried to utilize them as far as possible. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the thing. Like reading older. Yeah. 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 The things like this pop up frequently. And all we can do is like roll our eyes and just be like, come on. I think we know a little better than that now. Having found the lock, I tugged at it and wrenched off the whole thing. My accomplice immediately stooped down and wriggled like a serpent into the gaping open, four-cornered cover of the crate, whence she called to me approvingly in a low tone, "You're a brick." Nowadays, a little crumb of praise from a woman is dearer to me than a whole dithyramb from a man, even though he be more eloquent than all the ancient and modern orators put together. Then, however, I was less amiably disposed than I am now, and paying no attention to the compliment of my comrade, I asked her curtly and anxiously, "Is there anything?" In a monotonous tone, she set about calculating our discoveries. "A basket full of bottles, thick furs, a sunshade, an iron pail." All this was uneatable. I felt that my hopes had vanished, but suddenly she exclaimed vivaciously, "Aha, here it is." What?" "Bread, a loaf. It's only wet. Take it." A loaf flew to my feet, and after it herself, my valiant comrade. I had already bitten off a morsel, stuffed it in my mouth, and was chewing it. Dahlia reads a woman's housekeeping book from the 40s. Oh, I bet that's full of all kinds of, I can't even think of the right, all kinds of malarkey. Let's use that one. Yeah, but it's only take it, but suddenly I was chewing it. "Come, give me some too, and we mustn't stay here. Where shall we go?" She looked inquiringly about on all sides. It was dark, wet, and boisterous. Look, there's an upset canoe yonder. Let's go up there." "Let us go, then." And off we set, demolishing our booty as we went, and filling our mouths with large portions of it. The rain grew more violent, the river roared. From somewhere or other resounded a prolonged, mocking whistle, just as if someone great, who feared nobody, was whistling down all earthly institutions, and along with them this horrid autumnal wind, and us, its heroes. This whistling made my heart throb painfully, in spite of which I greedily went on eating. And in this respect, the girl, walking on my left side, kept even pace with me. "What do they call you?" I asked her. Why, I knew not. "Natasha," she answered shortly, munching loudly. I stared at her. My heart ached within me, and then I stared into the mist before me, and it seemed to me as if the inimical countenance of my destiny was smiling at me enigmatically and coldly. The rain scourged the timbers of the skiff incessantly, and its soft patter induced melancholy thoughts, and the wind whistled as it flew down into the boat's battered bottom through a rift, where some loose splinters of wood were rattling together, a disquieting and depressing sound. The waves of the river were splashing on the shore, and sounded so monotonous and hopeless, just as if they were telling something unbearably dull and heavy, which was boring them into utter disgust, something from which they wanted to run away, and yet were obliged to talk about all the same. The sound of the rain blended with their splashing, and a long-drawn sigh seemed to be floating above the overturned skiff.
the endless laboring sigh of the earth, injured and exhausted by the eternal changes from the bright and warm summer to the cold, misty, and damp autumn. The wind blew continually over the desolate shore, and the foaming river blew and sang its melancholy songs. Yeah, we are. We definitely are, Dahlia. No lies detected there. I take all the coddling I can get. Is my... How long has that Twitter thing been up there, by the way? Is that stuck? Yeah, I think something weird is going on with the, yeah. I had to reset that earlier. One second, let me just quickly find that. Where is that at? Pixel chat. Let me get in there. Was that pixel sub? Oh, that's rotating. Okay, let me just edit it. Maybe preview mode's not turned on. Oh, but it's doing preview mode anyway. Yes, turn it off. Go home. Oh, hang on a second. Time for pop-up to stay, 5 seconds. Let's see if I can change that to 7, see if that... Okay. Okay. They are pretty good about adding new stuff into it. I guess that's kind of got a little squirrely there for a minute. All right, let's continue with our story. Oh. Our position beneath the shelter of the skiff was unutterably... Oh, where do we get to? Yeah, our position beneath the shelter of the skiff was utterly devoid of comfort. It was narrow and damp. Tiny cold drops of rain dribbled through the damaged bottom. Gusts of wind penetrated it. We sat in silence and shivered with cold. I remember that I wanted to go to sleep. Natasha leaned her back against the hull of the boat and curled herself up into a tiny ball. Embracing her knees with her hands and resting her chin upon them, she stared doggedly at the river with wide-open eyes on the pale patch of her face. They seemed immense because of the blue marks below them. She never moved, and this immobility and silence, I felt it, gradually produced within me a terror of my neighbor. I wanted to talk to her, but I knew not how to begin. It was she herself who spoke. "What a cursed thing life is," she exclaimed plainly, abstractedly, and in a tone of deep conviction. But this was no complaint. In these words there was too much of indifference for a complaint. This simple soul thought according to her understanding, thought and proceeded to form a certain conclusion which she expressed aloud, and which I could not confute for fear of contradicting myself. Therefore I was silent, and she, as if she had not noticed me, continued to sit there, immovable. "Hey there, Galaxy boy. What's shaking?" Even if we croaked, what then?" Natasha began again, this time quietly and reflectively, and still there was not one note of complaint in her words. It was plain that this person, in the course of her reflections on life, was regarding her own case, and had arrived at the conviction that in order to preserve herself from the mockeries of life, she was not in a position to do anything else but simply croak, to use her own expression. The clearness of this line of thought was inexpressibly sad and painful to me, and I felt that if I kept silence any longer, I was really bound to weep. And it would have been shameful to have done this before a woman, especially as she was not weeping herself. I resolved to speak to her. Who was it that knocked you about? I asked. For the moment, I could not think of anything more sensible or more delicate.
Pashka did it all, she answered in a dull and level tone.
And who is he?
My lover. He was a baker.
Did he beat you often?
Whenever he was drunk, he beat me. Often.
And suddenly, turning towards me, she began to talk about herself, Pashka, and their mutual relations. He was a baker with red moustaches and played very well on the banjo. He came to see her and greatly pleased her, for he was a merry chap and wore nice clean clothes. He had a vest which cost 15 rubles and boots with dress tops. For these reasons she had fallen in love with him, and he became her creditor. And when he became her creditor, he made it his business to take away from her the money which her or other friends gave to her for bonbons. And getting drunk on this money, he would fall to beating her. But that would have been nothing if he hadn't also begun to run after other girls before her very eyes.
Now, wasn't that an insult? I am not worse than the others. Of course, that meant he was laughing at me, the blackguard. The day before yesterday I asked leave of my mistress to go out for a bit, went to him, and there I found Dimka sitting beside him, drunk. And he, too, was half seas over. I said, "You scoundrel, you!" And he gave me a thorough hiding. He kicked me and dragged me by my hair, but that was nothing to what came after. He spoiled everything I had on, left me just as I am now. How could I appear before my mistress? He spoiled everything. My dress and my jacket, too. It was quite a new one. I gave a 5 for it, and tore my kerchief from my head. Oh, Lord, what will become of me now?
She suddenly whined in a lamentable, overstrained voice. The wind howled and became ever colder and more boisterous. Again my teeth began to dance up and down, and she, huddled up to avoid the cold, pressed as closely to me as she could, so that I could see the gleam of her eyes through the darkness.
What wretches all you men are! I'd burn you all in an oven. I'd cut you in pieces. If any one of you was dying, I'd spit in his mouth, and not pity him a bit. Mean skunks! You wheedle and wheedle, you wag your tails like cringing dogs, and we fools give ourselves up to you. And it's all up with us. Immediately you trample us underfoot. Miserable loafers.
She cursed us up and down, but there was no vigor, no malice, no hatred of these miserable loafers in her cursing that I could hear. The tone of her language by no means corresponded with its subject matter, for it was calm enough, and the gamut of her voice was terribly poor. Yet all this made a stronger impression on me than the most eloquent and convincing pessimistic books and speeches, of which I had read a good many, and which I still read to this day. And this, you see, was because the agony of a dying person is much more natural and violent than the most minute and picturesque descriptions of death. I felt really wretched, more from cold than from the words of my neighbor. I groaned softly and ground my teeth. Tillable cat still with us, yeah. Almost at the same moment I felt 2 little arms about me. One of them touched my neck, and the other lay upon my face, and at the same time an anxious, gentle, friendly voice uttered the question,
"What ails you?"
I was ready to believe that someone else was asking me this, and not Natasha, who had just declared that all men were scoundrels, and expressed a wish for their destruction. But she it was, and now she began speaking quickly, hurriedly.
"What ails you, eh? Are you cold? Are you frozen?
Ah, what a one you are, sitting there so silent, like a little owl. Why, you should have told me long ago that you were called. Come, lie on the ground. Stretch yourself out, and I will lie there. How's that? Now put your arms round me. Tighter. How's that? You shall be warm very soon now, and then we'll lie back to back. The night will pass so quickly. See if it won't. I say, have you two been drinking? Turned out of your place, eh? It doesn't matter. And she comforted me. She encouraged me. May I be thrice accursed. What a world of irony was in this single fact for me. Just imagine. Here was I, seriously occupied at this very time with the destiny of humanity, thinking of the reorganization of the social system, of political revolutions, reading all sorts of devilishly wise books whose abysmal profundity was certainly unfathomable by their very authors. At this very time, I say, I was trying with all my might to make of myself a potent, active social force. It even seemed to me that I had partially accomplished my object. Anyhow, at this time, in my ideas about myself, I had got so far as to recognize that I had an exclusive right to exist, that I had the necessary greatness to deserve to live my life, and that I was fully competent to play a great historical part therein. And a woman was now warming me with her body. A wretched, battered, hunted creature, who had no place and no value in life, and whom I had never thought of helping till she helped me herself, and whom I really would not have known how to help in any way, even if the thought of it had occurred to me. I was ready to think that all this was happening to me in a dream, in a disagreeable and oppressive dream. But, it was impossible for me to think that, for cold drops of rain were dripping down upon me. The woman was pressing close to me. Her warm breath was fanning my face. And, despite a slight odor of vodka, it did me good. The wind howled and raged. The rain smote upon the skiff. The waves splashed, and both of us, embracing each other convulsively, nevertheless shivered with cold. All this was only too real, and I am certain that nobody ever dreamed such an oppressive and horrid dream as that reality. But Natasha was talking all the time of something or other, talking kindly and sympathetically, as only women can talk. Beneath the influence of her voice and kindly words, a little fire began to burn up within me, and something inside my heart thawed in consequence. Then tears poured from my eyes like a hailstorm, washing away from my heart much that was evil, much that was stupid, much sorrow and dirt which had fastened upon it before that night. Natasha comforted me. Come, come, that will do, little one. Don't take on, that'll do. God will give you another chance. You will right yourself and stand in your proper place again, and it will be all right. And she kept kissing me. Many kisses did she give me, burning kisses, and all for nothing. Those were the first kisses from a woman that had ever been bestowed upon me. And they were the best kisses, too, for all the subsequent kisses cost me frightfully dear, and really gave me nothing at all in exchange. Come, don't take on so, funny one. I'll manage for you tomorrow if you cannot find a place. Her quiet, persuasive whispering sounded in my ears as if it came through a dream. There we lay till dawn. And when the dawn came, we crept from behind the skiff and went into the town. Then we took friendly leave of each other, and never met again, although for half a year I searched in every hole and corner for that kind Natasha, with whom I spent the autumn night just described. If she be already dead, and well for her if it were so, may she rest in peace. And if she be alive, still I say, peace to her soul. And may the consciousness of her fall never enter her soul, for that would be a superfluous and fruitless suffering, if life is to be lived. Yeah. Nothing like a little bit of depressing Russian prose to wind down a day with. But here we go. This is the bit that everyone's been waiting for. Everyone's been waiting for this next little bit. There we go. Okay. Did I miss anything in chat? Oh, not a lot's happening in chat. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Alrighty. It says, yeah, here we go. Well, thank you, Tillable Cat. Dahlia Rose. Lana Warrior, man, yeah, boy, oh boy. I need to get, okay, I need to get on my artist's case. All right. Get me some sweet stickers like that. Okay, so yeah, okay, so those who know, those who don't are about to know. Yeah, so I mean, obviously we do a lot of reading here. We do a lot of reading. Well, we're reading in the morning, and then at night we play video games. Yay, because who doesn't like video games too? But anyway, we do about 10 hours of book reading every week. That's like 40 hours every month, which is way too much, but there we go. Yeah. So we came upon a story by Edgar Allan Poe called The Lighthouse, which was something he started but never finished because, as everyone knows, he kind of died quite young and penniless. So he got started on the story and just lays out the bare essentials. A little bit about this man. He may be crazy. Maybe there's a conspiracy against him. He might or might not be an actual nobleman. It depends on whether or not you want to take the crazy part. Apparently there might be a conspiracy to stop him from taking this job. There's a prophecy. Something's been prophesied. I don't know what. Anyway, he's in this lighthouse. The ship that dropped him off there, the little cutter, barely makes it out in one piece. Why? It doesn't say. Like all these open-ended things, so the story can go anywhere. So this is for my creative writing friends. You might be one that I don't know about yet. Let me just change the title here. But yes, for the so a month ago we read this, Edgar Allan Poe. So about a month ago we read this, and then we were like, we can continue it, we can finish it. That would be pretty awesome. I mean, from time to time, people send me things to read anyway, things that they've written. They want to read them to the stream, and that's always fun. That's always cool. So, but in this case, let's make a big event out of it. So we came up with the Edgar Allan Poe experiment. Your mission is to start with these 750 words and continue and complete the story however you think it should go, whatever twists and turns you think are in there. And it doesn't have to, it's not an exercise to try and write like Edgar Allan Poe. You don't have to do that at all. I mean, the story, there's so many ways that you could go with the story. And you could even get meta about it. That, a story within a story. I don't know. And then, yeah, so on Sunday, February 23rd, that's just under 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be reading them all. Whatever people send me in, however they think it's going to go, and end, that's how we are going to, that's what I'm going to read. I will read what you send me.
There's not a competition. We're not judging anyone. There's not going to be any winners. There's not going to be any, certainly not going to be any losers. In fact, everyone's just going to be amazing for sharing their creativity. No one needs to feel like they're going to be judged on this. Let's just see how that creativity works out. Complete and finish this story. Oh, and while I'm reading it, by the way, it's going to be in a co-stream, a co-stream with Mr. Art by Galen, who will be speed sketching what's going on. So while I'm reading all the big exciting adventure or mystery or rom-com or science fiction or whatever it is, however you went with it, I'll just be reading it. Art by Galen will be translating all those words into pictures. And it's going to be an awesome co-stream. It's going to be fantastic. What's up there, Pro Kid? How you doing? Okay, Dali is having T-Ray edited for you. Okay, that'll be handy. So the both of you working on it. That's very cool. What's up there, your mother? I'm doing well. How are you doing? Yeah, we're just winding down our day. It's been pretty good. We've been working our way through this book here, The Phantom of the Opera. Yeah. That's all good. HK Spartan is back. Why is HK Spartan happy? Your mother is doing well. That's good to hear. Yeah, so we start at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Read for about 2 hours or so. We're going a little over today. That's fine. And anyway, so have I explained how it all works fairly well? So we're just going to end right here reading The Lighthouse again, just as a little refresher. I mean, maybe some people heard the description of like, no, that sounds kind of weird. I don't get it. So tell you what, we're just going to read through the short story which Edgar Allan Poe never finished. The Lighthouse. This is the one where if you're a creative writer, if you want to share what you have done, continue and finish this story. It's going to be good. I will tell okay, when am I usually on? Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Eastern. And on those days, we do book reading. We work our way through novels. Like this is our current one, The Phantom of the Opera. We just finished The Call of the Wild. We've also done, well, I forget what the Edgar Rice Burroughs book was. What was that one we did? I forget. It was that one wasn't so good. We did a Pulitzer-winning one, So Big by Edna Ferber, at the beginning of the year. And then on Sundays, we usually have Short Story Sunday, where it's just short stories and poems, and sometimes people send me things to read, like creative writers send me stuff. And on Sunday, but there's no Short Story Sunday this weekend because I'm at a Halo tournament. Anyway, hope that answers you. And then in the evenings, I do games, video games, but that's not the main focus of what we do here. Anyway, so let's get on with it. Here we go. We got some. This is okay. So this here is The Lighthouse. This is the short story. Edgar Allan Poe started it and then died before he finished it. January 1, 1796. This day, my first on the Lighthouse. I make this entry in my diary as agreed on with de Great. As regularly as I can keep the journal, I will. But there is no telling what may happen to a man, all alone as I am. I may get sick, or worse. So far, well. The cutter had a narrow escape, but why dwell on that? Since I am here, all safe. My spirits are beginning to revive already, at the mere thought of being, for once in my life at least, thoroughly alone. For, of course, Neptune, large as he is not to be taken into consideration as society. Would to heaven I had ever found in society one half as much faith as in this poor dog. In such case I and society might never have parted, even for the year.
What most surprises me is the difficulty to Greathead in getting me the appointment, and I, a noble of the realm. It could not be that the consistory had any doubt of my ability to manage the light. One man had attended it before now, and got on quite as well as the 3 that are usually put in. The duty is a mere nothing, and the printed instructions are as plain as possible. It never would have done to let Ordnov accompany me. I should never have made any way with my book as long as he was within reach of me, with his intolerable gossip, not to mention that everlasting meerschaum pipe. Besides, I wish to be alone. It is strange that I never observed until this moment how dreary a sound that word has. Alone. I could half fancy there was some peculiarity in the echo of these cylindrical walls, but oh no, this is all nonsense. I do believe I am going to get nervous about my insulation. That will never do. I have not forgotten de Great's prophecy. Now for a scramble to the lantern and a good look around to see what I can see. To see what I can see, indeed. Not very much. The swell is subsiding a little, I think, but the cutter will have a rough passage home, nevertheless. She will hardly get within sight of the Norland before noon tomorrow, and yet it can hardly be more than 190 or 200 miles. January 2. I have passed this day in a species of ecstasy that I find impossible to describe. My passion for solitude could scarcely have been more thoroughly gratified. I do not say satisfied, for I believe I should never be satiated with such delight as I have experienced today. The wind lulled about daybreak, and by the afternoon the sea had gone down materially, nothing to be seen, with a telescope even, but ocean and sky, with an occasional gull. January 3. A dead calm all day. Towards evening the sea looked very much like glass. A few seaweeds came in sight, but besides them, absolutely nothing all day. Not even the slightest speck of cloud. Occupied myself in exploring the lighthouse. It is a very lofty one, as I find to my cost when I have to ascend its interminable stairs. Not quite 160 feet, I should say, from the low water mark to the top of the lantern. From the bottom inside the shaft, however, the distance to the summit is 180 feet at least, thus the floor is 20 feet below the surface of the sea, even at low tide. It seems to me that the hollow interior at the bottom should have been filled in with solid masonry. Undoubtedly the whole would have been thus rendered more safe. But what am I thinking about? A structure such as this is safe enough under any circumstances. I should feel myself secure in it during the fiercest hurricane that ever raged, and yet I have heard seamen say occasionally, with a wind at southwest, the sea has been known to run higher here than anywhere, with the single exception of the western opening of the Straits of Magellan. No mere sea, though, could accomplish anything with this solid iron-riveted wall, which at 50 feet from high water mark is 4 feet thick, if 1 inch. The basis on which the structure rests seems to me to be chalk. January 4. Here the manuscript fragment ends. And that is where you would begin. If you're up to it. If you're a bit of a creative writer, if you want to continue that and finish that, doesn't have to be long. In fact, there's a cap of 4,000 words, including those ones. Just so things don't get too out of hand, Because not only will I be reading all of these in a live stream on Sunday, February 23rd, And not only will, while I'm reading them, Art by Galen be speed sketching the illustrations to go along with the words, but I will also later be recording them in my studio. It's going to be great, and yeah. So yeah, but obviously it can't go on forever. gotta have mercy on me here somewhere. So yeah, 4,000 words or less. Okay, and when I record them in my studio, I can then send you later your very own little mini audiobook. The completed The Lighthouse, written by Edgar Allan Poe and you. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. You were worried you're going to exceed the cap and you're able to change the direction of the story. Yeah, well, I mean, that's also where a good editor can help you as well. And yeah, I mean, it still gives you a lot of leeway, a lot of there's a lot of places you can go with it. With the illustration as the cover. Oh, I didn't think about that. That said though, Art by Galen, he is giving everyone the illustrations of what he's doing, what he did. But yeah, that would oh no, well, hang on, no, that would be okay. No, yeah, so Art by Galen is sending the sketches and illustrations. I'm sending an audio file. Audio files don't have a cover. Yeah. So I'll be sending like a high quality WAV file. But yeah, you could definitely use the illustration to if you're putting it up on YouTube or something like that, you could definitely use it to you could make your own like title card or whatever for the thing out of that. As a pick for the not that I'm aware of. I don't think you're going to attach an image to a WAV file. But yeah, I mean, if you put the, you can put the WAV file. You could stick it up on SoundCloud. You could stick it up on YouTube. I mean, there's dozens of places you could put it. You could upload it to Discord or whatever. Well, actually, probably too big for Discord. But yeah, with the artwork which Art by Galen sends, you'll be able to make your own suitably sized graphics, because all of those different places, they all have like different requirements on what cover art's supposed to look like, or like dimensions and all of that. So yeah, I think the artwork, so you can make it however you like wherever you're going to send it. I think if that you're trying to think of ways to yeah, so anyway, that's where we're. Yeah, so you could use the artwork, if you're not sticking it up to YouTube. I mean, there's no point having someone pre-make you a YouTube-sized or dimensioned image. So, you know what I mean? All right. I think that makes sense. I think that's it. But that's it. We're done. We're out of here. I am done. I was planning actually to start editing the new Patreon audio file today. However, I didn't have any breakfast this morning, and it was well past lunch. So I need to fix that. So I will aim to do that tomorrow. Where is my thing? Let's okay. I'm going to pass you over to to another creative stream. Let me just take a minute here to find one real fast. We got several people there. Who's don't know who that is. Who are these? Doing logos. What are these? These are doing. Trying to find something interesting. That's weird. That's weird looking. +18. This drives me up the wall. I can't believe it. I mean, they're doing such cool things, and like very cool creative things, and they all set this stuff to 18+. I don't get it, man.
I don't get it. All right. 18 plus. Okay, if I can't find a teen or friendly family thing, then I'm just going to be 18 plus. Unbelievable. What was this? I'm not passing you over to this 3D camera. This 3D printer is family friendly, thank goodness. But, okay, no, I get too worked up about this. This is just dumb. All right, because I cannot pass my family friendly stream onto an 18 plus thing. Okay, what's this one? Chimkiyu. Who's Chimkiyu? What are you? Teen! Thank God. Here we go. Alright, you win. You win the day there, Chimkiyu. Okay. I've no idea what this person does. I have no idea if they're any good. It sounds like, okay, they got music playing in the background. They probably don't talk a lot. But it'll be an interesting place for you guys to chillax at. What about, well, if they're, well, I'm just going into their channels, just clicking on them. Have it to me by Friday Eve. Well, you can send it to me by probably the 22nd, Saturday the 22nd at the latest. All right, I'll talk to. I will talk to you all later. Hit me up in Discord with any questions that you may have. But in the meantime, we're out here. Going to throw this over to Chimikiyu. Good lord, I'm not quite sure how to say their name. Okay. Goodbye there, Lana War. Thank you for spending the morning with us here. Thank you for spending the morning with us here. Who else is active? There, we got a bunch of... HK Spartan might still be active. Jer Henning is in the house. Jer Henning needs to check his Discord. Indeed, he does. Alrighty, but here we go. Let's finish this up, and I'll see you a bit later tonight for some gaming. Good night, Tillable Cat. Tillable Cat's still here. Of course, Tillable Cat's still here. So yeah, we'll continue with the Phantom of the Opera tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Unless I get booked on something. If I get booked on a TV show, and then